You have been speaking to your body your entire life, yet you have forgotten the language that heals, the ancient conversation between consciousness and flesh, that your ancestors knew as naturally as breathing, and this forgetting has cost you more than you realize, for your body listens to every word you speak, every thought you think, every belief you hold about health and disease, about strength and weakness, about youth and aging, and it responds accordingly, faithfully translating your mental patterns into physical reality with a precision that would astound you if you truly understood the mechanism at work. A woman met Dr. Joseph Murphy, who had been telling her body for 15 years that her back would never heal, that the doctors had said the damage was permanent, that she would always live with pain, and Dr. Murphy said to her, "Your faithful body, ever obedient to the instruction from its master consciousness, has maintained that exact reality because you have programmed it to do so, but the day you learn to change your language, to speak new words of restoration and renewal to your spine and muscles, your pain will begin to dissolve not through any external intervention, but through the simple yet profound act of changing the conversation you are having with your own flesh, and within weeks of following his guidance, her chronic pain disappeared completely. This is not wishful thinking or positive psychology dressed up as medicine. This is the recognition of a fundamental truth that modern science is only beginning to rediscover, that your body is not a machine separate from your mind, but a living expression of your consciousness, responding moment by moment to the quality of your thoughts, the nature of your beliefs, and most importantly, the specific words and phrases you use when you address it directly. When you wake in the morning and your first thought is about the ache in your joints or the tiredness in your muscles, you are beginning a conversation that will determine the trajectory of your entire day, for your body receives these opening words as instructions for how to behave, how to feel, what limitations to maintain, or what possibilities to explore. A man once told Dr. Joseph Murphy that he had been beginning each day by mentally cataloging his symptoms, by rehearsing his limitations, by confirming his fears about aging and decline. And Dr. Murphy explained to him, "You are programming your cellular consciousness with a script of deterioration, and your body, being the faithful servant it has always been, is performing that script with remarkable consistency. But when you learn to greet your body with words of appreciation, when you begin acknowledging its incredible capacity for renewal and restoration, when you start speaking to it as you would speak to a beloved friend who needs encouragement rather than criticism, you will create an entirely different conversation, one that opens doors to healing possibilities that seem impossible under the old language of complaint and defeat. Your body does not distinguish between what you call reality and what you call imagination. It responds to the dominant conversation happening in your consciousness, translating your mental dialogue into physical experience through pathways that science is still struggling to map, but which ancient healing traditions understood with crystalline clarity. The language you use about your body becomes the language your body uses about itself, creating feedback loops of either regeneration or degeneration based solely on the quality of your internal dialogue. And this is why so many people remain trapped in cycles of chronic illness despite having access to the most advanced medical treatments in human history. They have learned to speak fluently in the language of diagnosis and prognosis, of limitation, permanent damage, of genetic predisposition and inevitable decline, not realizing that every time they repeat these phrases, every time they introduce themselves as someone with this condition or that disease, they are reinforcing the very patterns they claim to want to change. A woman said to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "I have been calling myself diabetic for so many years that I forgot I am a person who happens to have a condition," and he replied to her, "The power of medical authority has convinced you that your body's capacity for healing is limited, that certain conditions are incurable, that your genetic makeup determines your destiny. But when you learn to speak to your body in the language of possibility rather than limitation, when you begin each interaction with gratitude for its tireless service rather than frustration with its perceived failures, you will activate healing mechanisms that operate beyond the reach of conventional medicine, tapping into the same intelligence that grows your hair, beats your heart, and orchestrates the countless biochemical processes that sustain your life without any conscious effort on your part. Your body remembers every conversation you have ever had about it, storing not just the words but the emotional charge behind those words, the belief systems that inform your language choices, the cultural programming that shapes your expectation about health and disease, and all of this accumulated dialogue forms what you might call your body's operating system, the background conversation that influences everything from your immune response to your rate of cellular regeneration. A young woman came to Dr. Joseph Murphy who had been constantly apologizing for her body, speaking about it as a burden or an embarrassment, focusing relentlessly on its perceived flaws and failures, and he told her, "You are maintaining a conversation of disconnection and hostility that prevents the natural flow of healing energy from consciousness to flesh." But when you learn to speak to your body with the same respect and kindness you would offer to any other being deserving of care and consideration, you will create a relationship of cooperation and mutual support that amplifies every healing intervention, whether conventional or alternative, and her entire experience of being in a physical form began to transform in ways that astonished her family and friends. This is not about denying physical symptoms or pretending that serious medical conditions do not exist. This is about recognizing that your relationship with your body, expressed primarily through the language you use about it and to it, either supports or undermines every other form of healing you might pursue. The ancient traditions understood that healing was fundamentally a conversation, a restoration of proper communication between the various levels of being that constitute a human life, and they developed sophisticated practices for conducting this conversation in the most beneficial way possible. But modern culture has largely forgotten these practices, replacing them with a mechanical model of the body that treats symptoms without addressing the consciousness that creates and maintains them. When you begin to reclaim this lost art of conscious communication with your body, you discover that your flesh is far more responsive to loving guidance than to harsh criticism, that it responds more readily to clear, positive direction than to vague complaints about what is wrong. A businessman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that his blood pressure was dangerously high despite medication, and Dr. Murphy instructed him, "Begin speaking to your heart with gratitude and encouragement. Rather than fear and anxiety, thank it for its faithful service, and affirm its perfect rhythm and strength." And within months his blood pressure normalized completely without medication. A mother shared with Dr. Joseph Murphy that she suffered from frequent illnesses, and he guided her to begin addressing her immune system as a wise and powerful ally rather than a failing defender of her health, and her illnesses became increasingly rare. An athlete explained to Dr. Joseph Murphy that his recovery time was lengthy and his performance declining, and Dr. Murphy advised him to start thanking his muscles for their strength and asking them gently for healing rather than pushing through pain with gritted teeth. And his recovery time decreased dramatically while his performance improved beyond what he thought possible at his age. This forgotten language of healing does not require you to become a mystic or to abandon rational thinking about health and medicine. It requires only that you recognize your body as a conscious entity deserving of respect and capable of remarkable regeneration when spoken to properly. Every cell in your body contains the same intelligence that transformed you from a single fertilized egg into the complex being you are today, and this intelligence remains active throughout your life, constantly working to repair damage, fight disease, and maintain optimal function, but its effectiveness depends largely on the quality of communication it receives from your conscious mind. When you speak to your body in the language of appreciation, when you acknowledge its incredible achievements rather than focusing exclusively on its apparent failures, when you offer it encouragement and support rather than criticism and neglect, you align yourself with the natural healing intelligence that is your birthright, the same intelligence that allows a cut to heal, a bone to mend, and your immune system to overcome countless threats without any conscious intervention from you. The process of learning this forgotten language begins with awareness, with paying attention to how you currently speak about and to your body throughout the day, noticing the automatic patterns of complaint and criticism that have become so habitual you may not even realize they are happening. A woman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she felt constantly tired and unwell despite following every health recommendation, and he asked her to observe her internal dialogue for 1 week, and when she returned, she said in amazement, "I discovered I was mentally berating my appearance dozens of times each day, calling my body ugly, fat, old, and useless." And Dr. Murphy explained to her, "Now you understand why your energy levels are so low and why your health problems multiply despite your effort to eat well and exercise regularly. But when you make the commitment to speak to your body only in words you would use with a dear friend, when you begin each day by thanking your legs for carrying you, your hands for their service, your heart for its faithful beating, your entire physical experience will begin to shift in ways that will surprise your medical doctors and delight your family. This transformation did not happen overnight, for the old patterns of negative body talk have deep roots in cultural conditioning and personal history, but with consistent practice, with daily attention to the quality of internal dialogue, the new language of healing gradually replaces the old language of criticism and complaint. Your body has been waiting your entire life for you to speak to it with love, to address it as the miracle it truly is rather than as the problem you have been trained to believe it represents. And when you finally begin this conversation in earnest, when you make it a daily practice to commune consciously with your physical form, you discover capabilities and potentials that conventional medicine insists are impossible. A man in his 70s came to Dr. Joseph Murphy complaining of severe joint stiffness that prevented him from enjoying his retirement. And Dr. Murphy told him, begin speaking to your joints with gratitude and requesting their flexibility. Rather than complaining about their stiffness, thank them for carrying you through 7 decades of life and affirm their ability to move with ease and comfort. And within months, he found himself moving with an ease he had not experienced in decades. A woman with chronic fatigue told Dr. Joseph Murphy that she had no energy for the life she wanted to live, and he instructed her to learn to dialogue with her cells about energy and vitality, rather than constantly lamenting her exhaustion, saying to her body each morning, I thank you for the energy that flows through every cell. I affirm your capacity for boundless vitality and strength. And she discovered reserves of energy she thought were gone forever. A teenager shared with Dr. Joseph Murphy that his severe acne was destroying his confidence, and Dr. Murphy guided him to stop hating his appearance and start thanking his skin for its protective service while gently requesting its healing, affirming, my skin is healthy, clear, and radiant, reflecting the perfect order of my inner being. His complexion cleared in ways that expensive treatments had never achieved. These are not miraculous exceptions to natural law, but examples of natural law operating under optimal conditions, when consciousness and body work together in harmony rather than opposition. The language of healing that you are remembering is not complex or esoteric. It consists simply of words of appreciation, encouragement, and clear, positive direction offered to your body as you would offer guidance to any intelligence capable of responding to your communication. When you feel pain, instead of cursing it or fighting against it, you learn to acknowledge it as information, to thank your body for alerting you to something that needs attention, and then to speak directly to the affected area with words of comfort and healing intention. When you notice signs of aging, instead of lamenting the loss of youth or fearing further decline, you learn to appreciate your body's long service and to encourage it in its ongoing work of renewal and regeneration. When illness arises, instead of seeing it as evidence of your body's failure or as punishment for some transgression, you learn to recognize it as opportunity for deeper communication, a chance to listen more carefully to what your body needs and to respond with greater wisdom and compassion than you have offered in the past. A woman said to Dr. Joseph Murphy recently, I used to curse my arthritis every morning and dread getting out of bed, and he instructed her, instead, thank your joints for carrying you through life and ask them gently to move with greater ease. Affirm that your body's renewing itself with each breath you take, and she discovered that the difference in how she felt throughout the day was remarkable, for in her simple shift from complaint to gratitude, from resistance to cooperation, she had discovered the fundamental principle that governs all healing communication between mind and body. This ancient conversation between consciousness and flesh, this forgotten language of healing that you are now remembering, transformed not only your physical experience, but your entire relationship with being human. For when you learn to speak lovingly to your body, when you treat it as the sacred vessel and faithful companion it has always been, you discover that health is not something you achieve through external means alone, but something you create moment by moment through the quality of your internal dialogue, through the respect and appreciation you offer to the miraculous biological intelligence that sustains your life, through the simple yet profound practice of speaking to your body as if it were capable of hearing every word, understanding every intention, and responding with all the healing power that lies dormant within your cells, waiting only for the right words, spoken with genuine love and unwavering faith in your body's infinite capacity for restoration and renewal.